The cold of Eldoria clung to Alicia's bones like a curse. It wasn't just winter's bite. It was the perpetual chill of her existence since her world had shattered 3 years ago. The market of the Lycan capital was chaos. Exotic spices, raw meat, the acrid stench of wolf pelts. Amid the cacophony of growling merchants and fearful humans, Alicia moved like a ghost, her weary eyes scanning stalls with quiet desperation. She was 28 years old, an Omega widow with auburn hair she kept hidden beneath a worn shawl, and green eyes that had learned to stay lowered. Every disdainful glance from passing Lycans reinforced what she already knew. She was nothing. Invisible. Worthless in this kingdom ruled by powerful wolves. Her hands, cracked and raw from endless work, clutched a handful of copper coins. Pathetic compared to what she truly needed. Medicine for her son. Diego. Her 6-year-old boy lay sick in the damp cabin they called home. The dry cough that shook him every night had grown deeper, more desperate. The ashen color of his skin screamed that time was running out. Alicia had sold everything. The few relics of her old life, before her late husband's betrayal, had left her with nothing but debt and a child to protect. Since then, she'd sworn to shield Diego from all pain, all disappointment, especially from the cruelty of powerful men. Her emotional walls were higher than the castle itself. Her maternal instinct as fierce as any wolf's. A stall selling medicinal herbs caught her eye, a faint glimmer of hope. The old Lycan woman behind the counter had deep amber eyes that seemed to see through skin. Alicia pointed to dried herbs that could ease fever and coughs. 5 silver coins, human, the vendor growled, her voice like dry leaves. Alicia's heart sank. 5 silver. She barely had 3 copper. I don't have that much, she whispered, her voice lost in the market noise. The old woman's face remained impassive. Then there is no medicine. The words, cold and final, broke something inside Alicia. Tears she'd held back for months began to flow, hot and bitter, streaking the dirt on her cheeks. She stumbled away from the crowd, seeking refuge in a dark corner between 2 barrels, and collapsed. The worthless coins fell from her numb fingers as her body shook with silent sobs. She didn't notice the sudden stillness descending on the market, didn't see heads turn or hear voices drop to nervous whispers, didn't feel the palpable fear spreading through the crowd. She didn't see the imposing shadow falling across the wet cobblestones, or the path that cleared as merchants and customers scrambled aside. It was Kale, the Lycan king of Eldoria. At over 7 feet tall, with shoulders that blocked out the sun, and eyes that had witnessed centuries, his mere presence made the proudest alphas bow their heads, and humans cower in terror. He wore simple, but impeccably crafted clothes, a reflection of inherent power, not decoration. His ancient eyes had seen empires rise and fall, and now, in this moment, they rested on the small, sobbing figure huddled in shadows. Something primal and overwhelming shook Kyle to his core, not the familiar deference of his people, not the predictable fear of humans. It was an inescapable pull, an invisible force that resonated in every fiber of his ancient spirit. The bond. He felt it with absolute certainty. A soul connection so powerful it stole his breath. His gaze, usually a mask of authority, now burned with primal intensity. The woman, the fragile Omega, the helpless widow. She was his destined mate. After millennia of waiting, he'd finally found her. Kyle advanced, and the crowd scattered like leaves before a storm, but a small figure stirred at the woman's feet. A child, frail and thin, but with clenched fists and defiant eyes that challenged his tiny frame. Diego. His large, feverish eyes fixed on Kyle, not with submissive fear, but with desperate courage. "Don't," Hurt her, you evil wolf! The little boy cried, his voice barely a whisper, but vibrating with fierce loyalty. He stood between his mother and Kale's imposing figure, a trembling shield of barely 6 years old, protecting her from the monster society had taught them to fear. Alicia heard her son's voice, and her head snapped up. Panic seized her. Diego, so sick, so weak, confronting the Lycan king. It was madness. She tried to pull him back, but the boy clung to her, unyielding. She waited for the roar, the fury, the annihilation, ready to sacrifice herself if necessary. But the roar never came. Instead of anger, Kale stopped. His broad shoulders relaxed slightly, and an expression rarely seen on the king's face, surprise and unexpected tenderness, crossed his features. Slowly, with grace that belied his size, he knelt on one knee, lowering his imposing figure to Diego's level. The king's eyes, gleaming like molten gold, met the boy's. "I haven't come to hurt you, brave little—" "One," Kale said, his voice deep and gentle like an underground river. "I've come to help." His words echoed in the astonished silence. Alicia stared, incredulous. Help? A Lycan king? It was unheard of. Her prejudices and distrust battled against the strange calm Kale's presence created. With a barely perceptible gesture, Kale signaled to the old herbalist. "Give the child the best medicine you have. Everything he needs." The trembling woman hastened to obey. Kale then extended his hand, not toward Alicia, but toward Diego. The little boy, still wary, looked from his mother to the king's outstretched hand. An internal struggle raged in his eyes, adults' warnings against the undeniable kindness in the giant's gaze. Finally, curiosity, and the need to help his mother won. With a trembling breath, Diego took Kyle's hand. The king's hand enveloped his small one completely. Diego looked up at Kyle with the innocence only a child possesses and asked, "Can I call you Papa Wolf?" The question, pure and unexpected, pierced Alicia's armor like an arrow. Relief, gratitude, and overwhelming confusion washed over her. Kale smiled, a rare, genuine smile that transformed his stern face. "Of course, little one." His voice was soft. "And now you and your mother are coming with me. You'll be safe, under my protection." The decision was unwavering, an order disguised as an offer. Alicia, stunned and powerless to argue, felt her despair dissipate, replaced by new concern. What did this protection mean? What price would come with it? Her rational mind screamed danger, but her maternal heart felt only overwhelming relief. Kale stood, and with Diego's hand in his, led Alicia out of the market. The crowd's stares weren't curious. They were shocked, and in some cases deeply disapproving. A Lycan king escorting a human Omega widow and her child to his castle. It was a monumental transgression of Eldoria's hierarchy. But Kale didn't seem fazed. His eyes were only on the small family he'd just claimed. The journey to Eldoria Castle was a blur for Alicia. From grimy market streets, they entered an opulent carriage drawn by majestic werewolves. Diego watched with wide-eyed wonder, pressing his face against the window. "Mama, look, they're so big!" Alicia couldn't share his wonder. Her mind raced. Why was the king doing this? What did he want? She'd learned the hard way that powerful men always wanted something. Kale sat across from them, his massive frame somehow fitting comfortably in the space. His eyes never left Alicia's face, though she refused to meet his gaze. "Your son is brave," Kyle said quietly. "He's foolish," Alicia replied, her voice tight. "He doesn't understand danger. He understands love. That's not foolish." The words caught her off guard. She finally looked at him. Really looked. His eyes weren't cold or calculating. They were warm, ancient, patient. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Because you needed help. Kings don't help widows in markets. This one does. His voice was firm, especially when that widow is his mate. Alicia's breath stopped. What? The bond. You felt it too, whether you acknowledge it or not. I felt nothing, she lied, but she had felt it. That inexplicable pull when his eyes first found hers. The warmth that spread through her chest despite her fear. The way her heart had recognized something her mind refused to accept. You're lying? His voice wasn't accusatory, just certain. But I can wait. I've waited millennia. I can wait for you to trust me. 3 months later, Alicia stood in the castle gardens, watching Diego run and play with other children. The servants' kids who'd once been too afraid to speak to him. He was healthy now. The medicine had worked. His cheeks were full of color, his laugh bright and constant. It had been 3 months since Kyle brought them to the castle. 3 months of luxury she'd never imagined. A room with soft beds and warm fires. Food that wasn't rationed. Clothes that weren't threadbare. And Kyle. He'd been patient. Gentle. Never demanding. Never forcing. He ate breakfast with them every morning, asking Diego about his dreams and listening with genuine interest. He taught the boy to read, his massive finger guiding small hands across pages. He'd given Alicia space, but never disappeared. Always there, a steady, constant presence. And slowly, so slowly, her walls had begun to crack. "Mama!" Diego ran to her, out of breath. "Papa Wolf says I can ride the werewolves tomorrow. Can I? Please?" Alicia's throat tightened. Papa Wolf. Diego had adopted the name completely, and Kyle had never corrected him. "We'll see," she said, brushing his hair back. "That means yes." Diego grinned and ran back to his friends. "He's happy?" Alicia turned. Kyle stood behind her, tall and imposing as always, but his eyes were soft. "He is," she agreed. "And you? Are you happy?" The question caught her off guard. Was she? After years of survival, of fear, of barely making it through each day, was she actually happy? "I'm grateful," she said carefully, "but not happy. I don't know how to be happy anymore. I forgot what it feels like." Kyle moved closer, not crowding her, just near enough that she could feel his warmth. "Then let me remind you." His voice was quiet. "Let me show you what it means to be cherished, protected, loved. You don't love me. You don't even know me. I've known you for 3 months. I've watched you put Diego first every single time. I've seen you cry when you thought no one was looking. I've seen you smile at him when he's sleeping." He paused. "And I felt the bond the moment I saw you. That's not nothing, Alicia." She closed her eyes. "I'm broken. My late husband. He lied. He betrayed me. He left me with nothing but debt and pain. I don't know how to trust." "Then don't trust me yet." His hand gently tilted her chin up. "Just let me prove I'm worth trusting. That's all I ask." Alicia looked into his eyes, ancient, patient, burning with sincerity, and felt something inside her shift. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know, but you're also brave. You faced a Lycan king in a market for your son. You can face this too." And for the first time in 3 years, Alicia let herself hope. "Okay," she breathed. "Prove it." Kyle smiled, that rare, genuine smile, and kissed her forehead. "I will. Every day for the rest of our lives." 6 months later. The great hall was filled with witnesses, Lycan nobles, common wolves, even humans from the outer villages. Alicia stood beside Kyle, wearing a gown of deep green that made her eyes shine. Diego stood between them, dressed in miniature formal attire, beaming with pride. The ceremony was simple, but profound. Ancient words binding an Omega widow to a Lycan king. A family forged not by tradition, but by choice. When Kale kissed her, sealing their bond, Diego cheered louder than anyone. "Does this mean I really get to call you Papa now?" he asked Kale later, tugging on his sleeve. Kyle knelt down, eye level with the boy who'd stood between him and his mother that first day. "You've always been my son, Diego, from the moment you called me Papa Wolf." Diego threw his arms around Kale's neck, and Alicia watched, this impossible, beautiful family they'd become, and felt her heart finally heal. Kale stood, pulling both of them close. "My family," he said quietly. "My everything." And Alicia, the widow who'd lost everything, the Omega who'd been invisible, finally understood what it meant to be seen, to be chosen, to be loved. The end, where are you listening from? Drop your city in the comments. And if this story touched your heart, subscribe. It helps more people find these tales of second chances and healing love.